The worst part out of all that is I genuinely forgot how to talk. I was so deep in my own mind that I couldn't formulate words to other people, and it was so frustrating.
Hello, I'm Alex.
I'm Trevor.
Hey everybody, I'm Kyle.
I'm Gail. I believe mental health is something that really needs to be thought about by everybody, and it's something that needs to be taken seriously.
I kind of follow along the same lines-ish. I think it's a very important thing to understand, and to kind of be more empathetic towards people who really struggle with mental health.
I feel like mental health is just as or even more important than physical health. I feel like it's something that needs to be talked about and needs to be understood and empathized, as stated earlier.
Yeah, I think that mental health is something that we need to take more seriously. I mean, I haven't met just about anyone I don't think that hasn't struggled with mental health or had some sort of encounter with it. So yeah, it's important, and everyone needs to kind of be thinking about it.
And what role do you think, universities, since we're at a university, what role should the universities play in sort of providing mental health services to students?
I mean, they should obviously be taking it seriously, but there should be counseling and therapy that universities should be offering for their students to partake in.
I agree with that there should be counseling and services at the university. I also feel like that the university needs to provide more resources and be more open on what resources it provides.
I think that having general, for lack of better phrasing, AA meetings for mental health, everybody just kind of sits in a circle, openly talks. Because I think some people work with one-on-one, some people work better openly, some in groups. Just kind of giving variety for students and options for mental health.
I'm going to have to agree with what everybody else said. I think the university should have some type of service for students who are struggling with mental health, and I think that there should be an option to put things in place just for classes in general, like 504 plans and stuff if someone's really, really struggling and they really need it.
What is the merit, if any, to the sort of pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality when it comes to the mental health discussion?
I don't agree with that. I don't think that anybody should feel like they have to struggle through their mental health all by themselves, because it's not something you can go through alone. Even if you feel like you can, it's really better to reach out to somebody and have somebody to talk to.
I see the basis behind it, pulling. What was the phrase that you said?
I think the pull yourself up by the bootstraps idea, you can
just kind of
work through it on your own.
Yeah, just kind of kick yourself into gear and go. I think that works for some people. I don't think that works for everybody. And the reason why I say that is because I think that it depends how mentally ill you are and what particular situation you are in. But I think if you have more of a mind over matter type of mentality, you could just use your mind to pull yourself out of that rut just by kind of flipping a switch and being okay, I'm not going to let this affect me. Do I agree with it completely? Not 100%, but I think there is some justice in that if you're mentally strong enough to do that. But if you're not,
I think that it's a position that many people take that don't really understand mental health. I mean, a lot of people who struggle with mental health, myself included, most likely want to do that first, try and pull themselves up, try to resolve the issue themselves. But most of the time that doesn't work. And part of dealing with mental health is accepting and learning how to ask for help and how to reach out for help.
I mean, I agree with mostly everything everyone else has said. I do think there's some merit to it, just because I think it's a good thing to try and get through things yourself, but you shouldn't always have to rely on that. You should, it's always nice to have people to talk to, have people to talk about your problems with. So there should always be support from others whenever you're dealing with mental health.
I would be curious to hear from each of you if you could sort of, if you think, why do you think young people these days are going through such a mental health crisis? What do you think is the root cause of this problem that seems to be affecting so many people?
What do I think causes like all these mental health issues now? I mean, you can't really answer that with just one thing, but I think definitely one of the causes would probably be social media. People kind of think they can say whatever, and for some people, they like are able to just brush it off like, oh, like that's not true, whatever people are saying. But some people take it more personally, and I think it's also just social media kind of distorts what we think about reality.
It really isn't an increase in more people being mentally ill. I feel like more people are aware of mental illness and mental health that as opposed to in the past. I think it's always been an issue. And until we sit down and figure out how to support people with mental health problems, it will continue to be an issue.
I think I can agree with that. Kind of what I'm thinking, and not that I necessarily agree with this, but I think going along the lines, kind of back to social media a little bit and the use of like the internet. I think that people are understanding mental illnesses a little bit better than we have in the past because we have so much resources to look it up on the internet. And I think that the more you go down a rabbit hole of what a mental illness is, you start self-diagnosing yourself and you start seeing other issues that fall into that. And you're like, oh, well, maybe I have that too. Maybe that's a thing that happens to me. And then you put yourself into that mental state. And I think that's something that's been boosted up and kind of like has caused mental health to be a crisis like strike, I guess, recently.
I feel like the generation and era that we're in right now is a lot more open to everything. Like, we're very accepting, we're very open, and in that we have become more open to mental health. Like, it's not taboo. It's not something that's bad, and it makes people feel more comfortable to be able to come out and be like, I'm struggling, I'm not doing okay, and they're not really scared of it. And I think that has really brought up a boost in people having mental illness because they're more comfortable coming up with it now.
Do you think that, since Alex brought up social media being a root cause or one of the problems, do you think there's any responsibility on the social media companies to be managing the way that their algorithms are recommending all of this content to people that may cause them to be in a rough mental state?
That's a difficult question. I feel like there should be something, but the way algorithms work and the way everything works, it's very, very hard to regulate. I think there should be research put into how to prevent that because social media definitely is messing with people's mental health, but I feel like it's hard to regulate. But if we can find out how, we definitely should.
I feel like social media has tried, and I think they're actively trying, but that is a storm that cannot be stopped because the internet is kind of it goes anywhere, it does whatever it wants. Yeah, it's just hard to be regulated. I think it would be a good idea for social media sites to do that, but I just don't know if they can. I don't know what would be like the best way. I mean, there's apps out there like not BetterHelp. That's just a whole counseling service. I wish I could think of one, but there's apps out there that helps kind of breathing and relaxation, like meditational apps that you could use to like get away from that. So in a way, I think that kind of falls back onto the person that mindlessly starts scrolling. And I think that they need to just stop, which can be hard.
Social media is one of the causes, but it also kind of depends on the person because it's kind of hard for people to realize that like what exactly they're doing. Like you said, people will just start mindlessly scrolling. And I mean, that's hard. That can be really hard to realize, but what people need to try and do is try to break away from that mindless scrolling, become more self-aware of what they're doing. But I mean, it should be something that like the social media platforms, the people running social media, they should take some responsibility. But as everyone else has said, I mean, the internet kind of does what it wants. I feel like they've tried, so it's kind of hard to, I'm not really sure in what way we could enforce that.
I feel like if we actually, I'm just gonna play on this and play a what if situation. If we shut down social media, I think that there's gonna be more mental health problems than having it online at this point. And I think that's an issue that social media sites need to see, need to understand. Any ideas on how to fluctuate that line? Absolutely not. I am not a billionaire mind that can come up with that off the top of the head. But I think that it's something that they need to be aware of and kind of see the issues and analyze like why these things are happening.
I would say if to alleviate the issue of social media impacting and regulating social media, I'd say do away with influencers. These people get paid by multinational billion-dollar companies to basically just post on social media, and some of these people are the people that people look up to and be like, oh, this person's successful and I'm not. So I feel like that's part of the root cause of the problem. So remedying that would be a good check on the power of social media.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. You kind of finished the thought in my head. People compare themselves to other people all the time, whether they know that they're doing it or not. And I think social media influencers are out there, ones that even just like I'll go on Snapchat and there's like 50,000 just women in like a bikini doing one of these. And that's just not healthy for anybody to look at all the time, constantly, 24/7. Even just buff gym dudes all the time. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that person. But subconsciously, I'm just why am I sitting here in my bed scrolling on this? Oh, now I'm awful.
I think another issue with that is it's not really social media itself. Society has placed these expectations on how we should look and what makes someone beautiful, what makes someone look good. So it's not necessarily social media's fault that that's in place. That was in place before we had social media. Right. Social media just kind of boosted that a lot more.
Do you think that culture in the world now is taking a turn away from that?
I believe it's trying to.
Yeah.
It's really trying to. There's a lot of people who aren't letting it because some people are kind of mean. But there's a lot of people out there who are really trying to push back about that and letting people love themselves for who they are. And I think that's great.
It's kind of the body positivity movement that's happening.
Yeah.
We were talking about how can the social media companies kind of, what's a way that they can more regulate this? I don't know that answer, but one thing I wanted to bring about was something that we can do, I guess, is just try to limit our intake of social media. I think it's important for people to be conscious of what they're doing and take breaks every once in a while. I've found myself taking breaks more often because I'm just what am I doing? I'm just sitting here on my phone. I'm comparing myself to other people, as you guys have said. So I think it's just important for one thing that we can at least do is try to be better about social media.
I'm going to take this to an extreme as well. It's we all seen Ready Player One?
Yeah.
No? Okay, so basically it's a simulated world. It's what am I thinking? It's simulation. VR, that's what it is. It's VR, they go into this video game world, and that is their life. They only live in there, they don't live in reality. Basically, at the end of the movie, spoilers, at the end of the movie, they take off a Tuesday and a Thursday, and nobody can go inside of that game. And they have to live in the reality. Right, and I think if we went to an extremist poll, if you just shut off social media for a Tuesday or a Thursday and nobody could go on it, I would like to see what that would do to the world, because in my positive mind, I think that would be beneficial.
See, I don't have the positive mind. I have the cynical mind.
I love it.
I feel like that might not be helpful for everybody. I know, at least with myself, I am in constant need of some type of stimulation. And if I don't have that stimulation, I do start spiraling and getting myself into a really bad mental place. And I use social media for that, whether that's just watching TikTok, YouTube, anything. I kind of, in a way, I require that stimulation to kind of be okay and be stable and make it through my everyday life without shutting down completely.
Are there other things that you could do, drawing or taking a walk through the park or something like that? Or I don't know, anything to help stimulate? Do you want? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. I mean, there are things. The only issue is sometimes they don't work.
That's fair.
It all depends on what state I'm in, because I do draw. I am an animation major. I draw for fun, but sometimes when I'm in a spot where it's I don't want to draw anything right now, it's a lot easier just to pick up the TikTok and See, I feel like it's kind of hard to like regulate influence or anything because the way people become influencers is a lot of people flock to them. It's just a lot of people flocking to them, be like, I really like this person, and they're just there. To be able to do that, we would have to make it so that people don't like that person, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other thing I can say is just maybe don't pay them. But that's at the same time, people make their livelihood off of that. So I can't just be like, don't pay them because that is the way people live.
I guess to add to that, influencers, at least some of them, don't necessarily start out as like these big people with all these followers. They start out as like small people, and then just people finding them interesting, they start following them, then they become big. So would that, by limiting influencers, would we basically just be cutting off that for like those people just with like aspirations of becoming like YouTubers or big people on TikTok, whatnot? So
I think with influencers, I don't want to say all of them because some of them, they're just like, they got lucky, you know, or like their parents were rich or something like that, which pisses me off to no extent. Anyways, where I was going with that is I think the good thing with influencers is they earn it. And if they earn it, I think that's a very respectable thing because, you know, if you earn it, you deserve it. But I think this also kind of like plays along the same line of the OnlyFans kind of debate, you know, like, should they be like selling pictures of themselves at their own free will to earn money? I think that kind of falls along that line.
I'll go off of that. That, in my opinion, is solicitation. And I feel like to go off of the influencer thing, I feel like that multinational corporations and the social media corporations are taking advantage of these people for their mutual gain and profits. So that's what I feel. And I feel like regulating that will regulate the social media companies as well.
I think the only thing that I can think on that point is that's kind of a huge win from a business perspective. So I don't think that they would do anything to stop that because they are just getting in funds that they don't have to do anything about. So that's a win on social media site. I mean, it's kind of like a legal pyramid scheme, if you will. So that'd be hard to say, hey, you should stop doing that. And I don't think that they would.
I feel like while social media does contribute to a lot of issues regarding mental health, I feel like a lot of the politicians and a lot of the people making these laws are just using social media as a scapegoat and as an excuse of why this is happening, to not want to put public money towards, I don't know, support programs for people who have mental health issues or like addiction rehab programs for people who suffer with that. I think it's just a tactic by the politicians to avoid spending public money on public programs so they can just blame the social media.
I feel like our upbringing, our childhood, and who we're surrounded by and how they're treating us has a big impact on mental health. I know in the bad cases scenario, it's called childhood trauma. And even if it's just like a mild form, like your parents being your first bully, that is going to severely detriment your mental health. And I know that there's not like a manual or anything on how to be a good parent or anything, but I feel like there should at least be something like, hey, maybe you shouldn't constantly tell your kid that they look awful. Or, hey, maybe you should not yell at them for small things or something. I feel like there should be something put in place for that because that will affect the child's health in the long run.
Do you think that that kind of like stipulates parenting? Because that's with like child protective services, I think that's something that they try to grow and do more and more. But there's a lot of political backlash on that because that's taking away the individual rights of parents to raise their child the way that they do it. And though I do agree primarily with that point, I think that puts too much of a restraint on the way that you like kind of raise your children and kind of takes away that freedom.
I don't agree. I feel like if you're so bothered by the fact that you can't tell your kid that that you can't I'm gonna say it like this, be mean to your kid. Like, yes, I feel like you should still be able to discipline your child in a way that is not going to make them feel awful about themselves. There's a way of doing that. I know a lot of people look at it as soft parenting, but there's a way to go about it that's respectful and doesn't like affect how that kid is going to think about themselves or how that kid is going to think about you.
Where would you draw the line of good parenting versus bad parenting? Let's say like a kid steals $100 from you. What's like the disciplinary action that you're going to take on that kid?
Well, in a situation like that, that would not really go into what I'm saying because, yeah, I'm not really talking about disciplining the child. I'm more talking about raising them in a different way. Like, I'm trying not to be too specific because I don't want to get too personal. But I feel like that, yeah, you would probably tell the kid off, like not call them names or anything, but you would tell them that what they did is wrong, explain why what they did is wrong, and give them a punishment that you feel fit, whether that's just grounding or like, I don't know, but it's not anything that's, it's not like you're going to go up to your kid and be like, you're an asshole or something like that. Like that's kind of more what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I feel like a big reason as to why this has kind of increased is probably COVID, because we were isolated so long, and we're still, I mean, we're for the most part out of that, but a lot of people changed because of it. And just the loss of all these communities, it's kind of created this sense of isolation for a lot of people. And it's kind of changed the way they think about interacting with others. We've almost become less socialized in a way. And I guess it's just kind of been hard for people to try to go back to interacting the way they did before COVID happened.
Yeah, I mean, COVID itself, that's what I was going to say too, was definitely isolated people a lot. I feel like for some people it might have like stunted their social growth because they had that period of time where they were just inside, and a lot of people were binge watching Netflix shows, they were on TikTok and everything. They weren't really talking to people. And so now, like 2 years later, nobody knows how to talk to anybody anymore. I'm not going to say nobody, but a lot of people don't know how to talk to anybody anymore. And so we're not going out to some of these places. Like, we're not going to the groups like church, and we're not being a part of school groups because we've grown so used to just not having anybody around. And it's definitely does screw with the mental health because the less people you have around, then the more alone you are with everything.
I'll kind of build off that point with like a personal story. I'll kind of talk about my little ATL through COVID. I don't really mind. I'm open. It's like there was a point in COVID whenever I was living back at my parents' place, and I didn't want to go inside to like live with them. I wanted like my own little space and whatnot. So we made this kind of like little trailer. I was set up in there, and I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey for about like 180 hours straight. Like I put way too much time in there. It was intense. It was bad, but it was fun actually. But like the worst part out of all that is I genuinely like forgot how to talk. Like I was so like deep in my own mind that like I couldn't formulate words to other people, and it was so frustrating. And whenever I kind of got out of that and kind of like found myself in small groups or little like social events, like I felt like I couldn't fit in. I felt like I didn't know who I was, what I was doing, why I couldn't talk, why I couldn't relate, because I used to be mindlessly, effortlessly good at it. I mean, I've had to work like hard to like get back up to that level of confidence, but I think just the overall point in that is it messed with everybody, and I think that it just people have to find that community still to this day, and their comfortabilities and who they are as a person post COVID in the world that we are today.
Now, social media and the internet, as much as it takes away communities like we've discussed, it also can build communities too. For example, I'll just go into online gaming. There are a lot of online games where it kind of builds a sense of community. So, as much as it does take away communities, I think it also just creates its own communities as well. So we can't necessarily go saying, oh, it just completely takes away.
No, I like that because like as bad as COVID was, it was definitely the end of something, but it also like started something new that is still developing right now. And I think as openly tough of a subject COVID is, I think it's always important to find like the silver lining in it, to kind of keep pushing forward, you know? And if you don't do that, then you're just gonna kind of be stuck. And I think that's another most important thing with at least if you're more internalized with your mental health issues, you have to be able to find that silver lining and find the positivities in it, or else you're just going to kind of spiral down.
And you're talking about silver linings with COVID. I think a silver lining with COVID is the fact that we are now more open to talking about mental health, and we are more open to getting help, because COVID kind of caused a lot more people to realize the mental health struggle is not something that should be taken lightly. It's something that we really need to think about and take more seriously.
I agree with that, but I feel like that prior to COVID, it wasn't really taken seriously. That a bunch of people got diagnosed with like anxiety and depression during COVID, and they were like, "Oh, well, we gotta take this seriously because of this virus that we can't control caused all this." So I feel like had not been the virus, that it would have gone unchecked and people would have not gotten any help. And I kind of worry sometimes that as we're starting to, we're not out of the pandemic yet. Don't be convinced that we are, but as we start to enter out of it, early stages of doing such, people might forget that people still deal with these issues, whether there's a pandemic that isolates them or not.
And I think that's going to be a generational thing too. I think that the generation that has went through the pandemic, specifically mid high school to recently like collegiate graduates, are all going to have like kind of that sensibilities. But like then there's going to be the generation who are in like preschool to third grade, just to throw the numbers out there, preschool to third grade, that went through a pandemic whenever their brains were still like very slowly developing. So maybe in their generation, they might have kind of like more tucked away views on like mental health, like, but who's to say? But I mean, to go back to your point, I think it's always important to keep mental health talks as open as possible, because I think the more people talk about it, the more people that are afraid to open up about it see that it's not just them.
Even just people, like, not even just being afraid to talk about it. Some people don't even know that they're struggling with something. Like, they're just like, oh, everybody feels this, it's nothing. Everybody has this happen to them. This isn't anything I should be worrying about. But they go and they see other people talking about it, like, this is something that I struggle with. This is something that is a problem that I'm getting help for. Then maybe they'll start realizing, oh, this isn't just something everyday run of the mill. There's something here that I need to get help with. And then maybe they'll reach out and get that help that they need.
In order to get comfortable, you have to get uncomfortable. And that's tough. That's hard. That's hard for a lot of people. I can say that with ease, but I know that I'm just being naive about it. Like, I'm aware of that. But I truly believe that if you want to try to get this sensibility of community back, you just kind of have to force yourself to go out, even if it's uncomfy. And then eventually, it's kind of like if you drink Starry 5 times, it tastes like one thing, and then it tastes like another thing the 6th time. That makes sense if you don't get it. Anybody have thoughts on that?
Starry and Sprite are different.
Anyone else? That was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sprite is better.
Yeah, I think it is one of my overall philosophies on life. In order to get comfy, you have to get uncomfy. And I think people who want to get that back and want to, but they are afraid to do anything, they have to step outside of their comfort bubble and, for lack of better terms, kind of force themselves into a whole new world.
Maybe we can make it so that people feel more comfortable getting uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how we would go about this, but like, I don't know, show how open places are. Like, hey, anybody can come and do this. It doesn't have to be like, you have to have these specific I can't qualities things. I don't know. You don't. I'm really bad with
I think
words.
I can fill
but
it in. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I have the vibe, just not the words.
I know what you're trying to say.
I think that basically to get more people to come out, like ultimately it's gonna be a person's choice at the end of the day. But I think like one thing that we can easily do is just be promoting things more, promote the fact that we, I guess, are kind of open to everyone, so that like everyone can go and do this. It doesn't matter who you are, so that everyone kind of feels comfortable doing things. But it's also, like I said, ultimately it's kind of a person's choice to go do things at the end of the day.
Don't be afraid to get help. If you're alone, you're not alone. I think that's something that can never be said enough. Mental health is a very serious topic, and if you're struggling with it, it's okay. And you're not alone. And people are here for you.
To add on to that, I want to say that there are resources out there that you don't necessarily have to pay for. If you're in a college, see if they have a counselor, if they have therapy services. And even if you're not comfortable with that, there are text lines that you can reach out to that if you're having a crisis, you're having a problem. There's phone call lines too, but I'm bringing up the text line because sometimes phone calls are difficult. You can just text and there'll be someone there to talk to you. And there's no shame in reaching out to anything like that at all.
Just find someone to talk to about if you're struggling with mental health. Talk to someone that you trust, someone that you can reach out to. If you can't find that person, try and find a professional that you'll be able to do that with, whether that be through like a text line or something like that, or a therapist or something. Reach out to someone. Don't take on your problems alone. I've tried doing that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. So please, if there's anything that can be learned from this, reach out to someone for help. There's always people that are willing to help and are willing to listen.
I guess I kind of just want to say yes, it's important to reach to others for help and all that, but also just keep in mind, just allow yourself the same kind of kindness you allow for others. Take rests, take breaks from any, like, whatever you might be doing. It's okay to take a step away from things and kind of have to reevaluate. Because a lot of times you get in your own head about things and then you just make things worse. So just you can pretty easily step away and just try and calm down and whatnot. But you can also look to other people for help with doing those things. So yeah.
Can you give us your name, your major, and your involvement on campus?
My name is Gail. I am an animation major, and I am part of the esports crew.
What do you self-identify as politically?
A socialist.
What are your initial thoughts and feelings on the topic of mental health?
I feel like mental health is really important, and people should care about it a lot more than they do. And I feel like it should be easy for people to get help when they need it.
What do you expect the views of those who differ from you politically to be in regard to the topic of mental health?
I don't really feel like there should be that many different views. I feel like mental health affects everybody in the same way. Well, not really the same way, but like everybody deals with it. And so I don't feel like political views should change anybody's opinion on it.
Can you give me your name, your major, and your involvement on campus?
My name is Alex Zonizer. I am a broadcast production and media management major, and my involvement on campus, I mean, I'm a student. I help out with UView, and I just kind of help out wherever they need me, and that's about it.
What do you self-identify as politically?
I'd say I'm like, overall, I'm not very political, but whenever I go and vote, I tend to lean more towards conservative.
What are your initial thoughts and feelings on the topic of mental health?
My initial thoughts and feelings. Well, I do have strong opinions, I guess you could say, and personal experience. I've had some rough mental health patches myself. And just in general, I'm all for trying to help people out as best as they can to get through their mental health struggles.
What do you expect the views of those who differ from you politically to be in regard to the topic of mental health?
I mean, I'd hope that they'd have similar opinions to me, but just they're probably not completely the same. They probably vary slightly.
Where are the questions?
On your phone.
I know.
Guaranteed.
Here we go. Okay. Can you give us your name, your major, and your involvement on campus?
Yeah, my name is Kyle Archer, Archer for spelling purposes. What's my major? Media communications with a focus in journalism. I am a graduate student here, graduate assistant for broadcasting. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's me. Quickly.
What do you self-identify as politically?
Apolitical, leaning towards liberalistic views. I like to know both sides before I jump on anything, but most of my thoughts tend towards more liberalistic style stuff.
What are your initial thoughts and feelings on the topic of mental health?
I am a big advocate for mental health. I have not met a single person that has not struggled with mental health. I guess like above the age of like 18, and like kids don't really struggle with that. Some do, but anyways, tangent. That was dumb. But I am a big advocate for it. I don't really know the political sides. I don't understand why there's kind of political sides to that, just because that seems to be more of a different crisis alone than something that needs to be discussed politically. But politics turn everything political, so.
So then I got to ask you this question.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. What do you expect the views of those...
Sorry.
7.
Sorry.
What do you expect the views of those who differ from you politically to be in regard to the topic of mental health?
So I think if anybody has to have any differing opinions of what I think about mental health, it would just be that mental health doesn't exist and people need to kind of like nut up or shut up in a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Agree
much.
with that. That was a disagree thing.
Can you give us your name, your major, and your involvement on campus?
My name is Char Fitzsimmons. I am a political science major, and my involvement on campus is I'm a student here. I'm the recording secretary for the Student Government Association. I'm the founder and president of Shalom, the student Jewish organization here on campus, and I host a radio show on WPPJ called From Jamaica with Love.
What do you self-identify as politically?
Liberal. I self-identify as a liberal.
What are your initial thoughts and feelings on the topic of mental health?
I feel like mental health is a very important topic, especially today. I've experienced mental health related issues. I've had friends who've experienced mental health related issues. It's just as important as physical health, and I feel like it needs to be talked about in the same fashion.
What do you expect the views of those who differ from you politically to be in regard to the topic of mental health?
Well, I'm not really sure what those views would be. Probably like the pull yourself up with your bootstraps type view, because I've directly experienced mental health, so I would just go with that. And then also, I don't think it should be a political issue. I think liberals and conservatives both experience mental health issues and deal with mental health the same. And being it politicized isn't really doing anything.
Do you think that could be an area of bipartisan legislation in any level of government between liberals and conservatives?
I feel like it could, if both parties were willing to, liberals and conservatives are willing to work together on that issue, which they seldom do, work together on anything. But that would be one thing that I think could get mass bipartisan support in Congress.